Since the beginning of October, I've been following a winter training plan set up by TriathlonDan and Matt Waterfield of Woodnote Coaching, and I genuinely think it's been the most productive 3 months of training I've done in the 2 years that I've been training for triathlon. In this video, I'll share some of my thoughts on the training plan and whether it's something you could potentially benefit from as well, as Dan and Matt are running another group in the new year. So to start, a quick overview of the plan without going into too much detail and giving away all the secrets. We had 4 bike sessions, 2 runs and a single swim scheduled in across the week with 1 session per day. There weren't any predetermined rest days, and the idea was that life itself determines if and when a rest day is needed. We didn't have to do session A on Monday, for example, and could juggle things around if we wanted to, but the idea is that we didn't do more than 2 sessions in a single day to allow for recovery. Now that actually leads me onto one of the downsides, but I'll preface this in saying that it's absolutely not down to Dan or Matt at all, but Training Peaks themselves. I haven't used Training Peaks beforehand, so had to sign up for an account, as that is where the workouts are programmed. Now this wasn't a problem at all until I found out that you actually need to pay for Training Peaks Premium for such a simple feature of being able to move workouts around across the week. The bike workouts are done in Zwift, and the way in which the two work means that the workout you want to do has to be in Training Peaks calendar on that exact day, otherwise it simply doesn't show up in Zwift. The long and the short of it is that a Training Peaks Premium account is pretty much essential, as the chances of each workout fitting into your schedule perfectly is very unlikely, especially over the course of the 3 months. Now ideally Zwift would allow you to pick any workout that's in your Training Peaks calendar, regardless of the date, or Training Peaks allow you to move workouts around as part of a free account. Now you may benefit from the other features that come with having a Training Peaks Premium account, but I personally didn't, so I was having to pay extra just to be able to move workouts around. As I said, this is completely out of Dan and Matt's control, and they are just using the tools available to them to program the workouts. I'm not sure if there are any alternatives to Training Peaks out there, but from what I know, they are basically the industry leader, and so it makes sense that that particular platform is used. So enough about Training Peaks and Zwift. I now want to talk about the social element of the plan, as the idea is that group training can help keep you motivated through the winter months when you aren't training outside with others. Either Dan or Matt hosted a Zwift meetup on a Monday and Thursday evening, which allowed us to ride as part of a group and do a workout together. The option to join a Zoom call was also there. I did join both the Monday and Thursday sessions at 6 PM for the first 7 weeks or so, but then decided to stop. And the only reason for this was down to personal preference in wanting to just get the session done and out of the way early in the morning. We usually have our tea around 6 PM, so the social workouts interrupted the evening, for lack of a better word. Now I personally didn't get much value from the social side of the plan, but I can absolutely see how some people would that may struggle a bit with motivation to get started. Some of the sessions were quite hard as well, so there wasn't really much of an opportunity to chat, especially as the recovery periods for some of them were quite short and we had to make the most of them. That being said, there were some easier workouts like the Zone 2 social ride on a Monday, where we could chat and ask questions to Dan and Matt, which was definitely valuable. I remember asking Matt whether running a full marathon in preparation for a full distance triathlon was a good idea, and his answer and the justification for it was really helpful. The sessions where we were chatting throughout the workout also seemed to pass a lot quicker, so that was definitely a bonus. There was also a private Facebook group where we could share any wins or ask any questions, things like that, which was nice to have. As you'd expect, there was quite a bit of activity to begin with, but this gradually went down as the weeks progressed. But if anyone did ask Matt or Dan a question on there, they were very quick to respond and very engaging. Now, as I said earlier, I really do think that the last 3 months has been the most productive training I've done. My general fitness seems to have improved quite a lot, and the workouts that appear hard on paper actually turn out to be not too bad at all. One of the key highlights for me is setting a new 5k PB and going sub 20 for the first time. Now, I did a dedicated video on this recently, so feel free to check that one out. But essentially, I'm convinced that the training I've done across all 3 disciplines as part of the Senate squad is what led me to setting a new PB. When I first looked at the run workouts, I thought that they were way too slow and I'd never be able to stick to that slow of a pace, nor make any progress in my running. Well, I was wrong on both accounts. Since following these workouts, I have fully embraced the concept of running slow to run fast, and my running really does feel like it's come on leaps and bounds. Previously, my easy pace would have been around a 5-minute kilometre pace, which I now realise was far too fast. My heart rate was high when it should have been low, and looking back, I can now see why I remained stagnant for so long. My prescribed easy pace based on my threshold was around a 6-minute kilometre, so quite a big difference to what I was running before. At this pace, my heart rate remains low and I feel like I keep going all day long at that pace. Now, although the majority of the time spent running was at this slower pace, there were some tempo efforts sprinkled in which varied in length. This was the sweet spot for me as it made the workouts a bit more interesting whilst also keeping some speed in the legs. As a result of doing several hours of tempo over the last 3 months, I've become much more comfortable running at that pace and it seems easier in terms of perceived effort. I also feel a lot fitter on the bike and I'm pretty sure that my FTP will have improved when I next do a test. The workouts may have looked tough on paper, and some of them definitely were, but they turned out to be manageable and I didn't have to pull the plug on a single one of them. Towards the beginning of the plan, Dan told us how sweet spot work is the bread and butter of improving bike fitness in a relatively short amount of time whilst not building up too much of fatigue that would affect future workouts. I very much agree with this now and will continue to focus on sweet spot work as part of my training going forward. Now, when it came to thinking about downsides of the plan, I really did struggle to think of anything, to be completely honest with you. It was well balanced in terms of the number of hours needed per week, and it definitely catered for a wide range of abilities and fitness levels. If there was one thing that I might like to see changed, it'd be a bit more variety in the workouts from week to week and perhaps a tad more run volume. There is definitely a sense of progression from week to week with the amount of work time versus recovery time slowly increasing, which is good, but the workouts can start to feel a little bit samey after a while. That being said, does it really matter if they feel the same as long as you're still enjoying it and getting a positive end result? If I were following the plan for any longer than the 3 months, I'd probably want something a bit different just to mix it up a bit. But for the 12 weeks we were following the plan, the variety was fine. When it comes to the run volume, there isn't a huge amount, especially when you compare it to the bike volume. I think I would have liked to see a bit more run volume with a little less bike volume, but then again, have to keep in mind that the bike leg obviously takes up the largest proportion of a triathlon. Plus, a lot of the fitness that you build up on the bike carries over to the run, but without that risk of injury, and so I can absolutely appreciate why there is quite a bit more bike volume than there is for the other disciplines. There was only one swim scheduled in each week, which I guess is down to how small of a part it is compared to the bike and the run. The workout did vary from week to week and included a mixture of base lengths, technique work and efforts, which was good, as just swimming up and down the lane can be a bit monotonous after a while. I'm glad there was only the one swim each week, as trying to fit anything else in along with the other sessions may have been a bit more tricky. Plus, I haven't really been enjoying my swimming that much recently, and so the motivation to do more than one session per week probably wouldn't have been there. In terms of total volume, I did end up doing a little bit more than was on the plan towards the end, with my biggest week being around 10.5 hours. This came from commuting to and from work on the bike a few times a week and an extra 30-minute easy run one lunchtime. I didn't really fancy spending 3 hours on the turbo for the long ride at the weekend, so tended to do between 1 and 2 hours instead, but with the commutes making up the volume. Now, you're probably wondering whether I would recommend the plan. Well, I'm not going to tell you, and that's because I'm taking a similar approach to Mark Lewis in not recommending things, but instead simply documenting what I'm doing here on the channel and letting you know whether I like it. So I did like the plan, and I've thoroughly enjoyed the last 3 months of training. I'm confident my fitness in all 3 disciplines has improved, and I've learnt a lot about triathlon training that I wouldn't have otherwise. If you think you'll benefit in a similar way to me and fancy giving the Send It Squad a go, your best bet would probably be to subscribe to Dan's channel and keep an eye out for his videos about it. I'll also leave a link to the website down in the description box below, so head over there and check that one out. So I hope you enjoyed this one and you found it helpful in some way. If you did, you might want to check out one of my recent videos on screen now. Don't forget to drop the video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great Christmas and New Year, and I'll see you in the next one.